ready for look down. I thought I'd get us some more limeade.
Oh, wonderful.
Because this is going to be exciting.
It is. And, this is a really interesting segue because Sparky has just opened up the package. No, she's just
discovered the package.
She discovered the package. Okay. Well, hats on, because this is going to be an interesting ride.
Okay.
This chapter is called Look Down. The rest of the room faded away as Sparky concentrated on the perfectly wrapped package on the bed. She shook off the obvious guess as to who would have sent it. Perhaps instead it was a bon voyage package from Wallace, or a good luck gift from the crew for the regatta. But those were remote possibilities. She knew the only way to find out was to open it, but that would also open a place in her heart that she had purposely closed off for quite a while. So she was hesitant. She picked it up. It was unexpectedly light. Its base was about the size of a shoebox, but the box was considerably flatter. The wrapping gave away that it had been wrapped professionally, most likely the shop where it was purchased. The wrapping paper was of a fine quality and was completely held in place by the ribbon that fashioned it. Not a hint of glue or paste to simplify the wrapping process. She took gentle hold of one of the ribbon ends and held her breath for a couple of seconds. A slow tug at the bow untied, the ribbon sliding off the package as only satin can. The paper wrapping relaxed around the box and begged to be removed. Sparky carefully reached under the wrapping, cradling the box, and removed the paper. The box was a superb paperboard, white, with a gilt swirl on top. Inside was an envelope and a beautiful light yellow silk scarf. Sparky slipped out an ooh, and the scarf was around her neck in an instant. The box and envelope left haplessly on the bed as she examined the new adornment in her hand mirror. She thought, not too feminine, but just enough. And so stylish. It would make me want to return to Paris all the more. Now the hard part. She took the small white envelope into her hands. It was tucked rather than glued or sealed. It obviously was written while at the shop of purchase and secured inside the box before wrapping. Inside was a simple, plain card. Dear Sparky, please accept this small gift as a memento of our outing in Paris, which I have enjoyed immensely. Erasmus. The history of the package became obvious to Sparky. Erasmus must have slipped into one of his shops while they were walking about Paris on Tuesday, purchased the scarf, written the note, and had the package delivered here to the Burke and Hare. How clever. That way he wouldn't have to carry it around or present it immediately. Actually, with all the excitement of today, he might have even forgotten that he had it sent. Sparky spent an extra minute mulling over the details of the present and the note. It wasn't too flowery or flattering, but he did use first names, showing a level of familiarity. And despite his claim that it was a small gift, a Parisian silk scarf wasn't a trifle. The intent of the unexpected package was still to be determined by Sparky. She could wear the scarf to dinner tonight to see the man's response, jog his memory of the purchase, and force a bit more reaction. That seemed a bit sneaky, but it would not be too outside her usual manners. Making a plan to do just that, she proceeded with dressing for piloting an airship. I'm going to take a break and...
Thirsty work.
Delicious, my dear.
Thank you.
Let's see. Sergeant J.B. Fox was on his third round of walking the entire airship. His plan was simple. Memorize the details of the Burke and Hare while all was well, so he could spot changes of interest when they arose. He had finished the lower deck and was making his way up to the outer catwalk, hoping to make his last look around before launch. Sparky entered the bridge in her full pilot's uniform. First Officer Ivan Krashnaya Rubashka who was already making pre-launch preparations, turned, gave her a polite smile, and turned back to his labors. He was using simple hand gestures to verify with the airfield workmen on the tower that all of the lines but one were safely released and the Burke and Hare was close to launch. Sergeant Fox suddenly appeared at the catwalk, on the starboard side of the bridge, rapping anxiously on the window. His face was unusually serious. His shouts were nearly inaudible given the thickness of the glass, and he quickly resorted to simply pointing to something off the starboard bow. Sparky grabbed her brass telescope and aimed it in the direction of the aerial marine's gesture. Coming through the arched entrance of the airship port was an undulating wave of dust. A shape of golden color was rushing onto the airfield. Through her telescope, Sparky recognized dozens of brass creatures that were scurrying at top speed. She shouted, "E-Pax! Coming this way!" Her first thought was to wonder how the E-Pax had found them and what destruction they could cause on the Burke and Hare. Ivan's face screwed up into a quizzical look and said, "Was ist dat? Epikak? You want to be sick?" She grabbed the voice pipe that led to the cabin hallway and shouted, "Drake! Drake! To the starboard side! E-Pax!" The chief inspector was just making his exit from Lord Ashley's cabin when he heard the strangely dampened and echoey plea. He sprinted to the main hall, leading to the external door. Outside on the catwalk, he quickly joined Sergeant Fox. "Where are they?" Erasmus shouted, the slight breeze of the evening air at this altitude making it hard to hear. The sergeant pointed, but followed with his own questions. "What are they?" "Tunneling and excavation contraptions. We not only encountered them just outside Paris, but ended up capturing a couple." Sergeant Fox raised an eyebrow for an instant, but showed no more surprise than that. The two men looked over the rail to determine how this might play out. The E-Pax were scurrying in a fashion that actually raised dust, despite that the airfield being a well-trimmed lawn. Then, as if flocking birds on a wing, they all changed direction in unison and headed for the site where the sizable Fortis was launching. A single remaining rope line was all that was left on the ground from its launch. The E-Pax were headed directly for it. The 5 workmen on the port side of the Fortis were oblivious to the scene below as they went about their business of gathering lines and stowing them. The size of the Fortis camouflaged the great distance between the airships. Erasmus instinctively started to wave his arms to get their attention. To no avail. Sergeant Fox jumped to the small storage compartment in the bulkhead of the Burke and Hare, and from it took up the red and yellow semaphore flags stashed within. Bracing himself, he started a series of ridged arm flag positions as succinctly as if he had practiced them earlier in the day. After 10 positions, he repeated them. "What are you signaling to them?" Erasmus shouted. "The easiest thing I could think of," the sergeant shouted back. "Look down." The workmen stared at the flags for a few seconds and then looked down as directed. But the E-Pax were at the line. At this point, it was also clear that one of the crawlers had carried a cutter on its back to the scene. The first to the line attempted to climb it, but it wasn't really made for such an endeavor. The best it could do was trap the rope between 3 legs and hold on. The next E-Pax then scurried over its predecessor and gained a foothold on the line above it. One body length at a time, they scurried onto the line. Even from this distance, it was clear what the workmen did. 2 ran off to the bridge to request that the Fortis get underway, while the others stayed and sawed away at the sizable rope with their pocket knives. The race was on, E-Pax climbing one at a time, and the workers slicing the rope as fast as they could. Just as the E-Pax made the halfway point, the rope gave way, and down came the jumble of brass and hemp. But unlike living entities that would have had to recover from the fall, the E-Pax righted themselves in an instant and headed for the Fortis's tower, climbing up the outside with ease. The peril was over, though. The Fortis had pulled away from the tower before the E-Pax even got to the 2nd floor. The Fortis backed away from the tower slowly, a couple dozen propellers at its aft, chopping away at the air. As the massive airship turned to exit the port, the E-Pax did likewise, changed direction, descended the tower, and headed back off the airfield at the same clip they arrived. Sergeant Fox asked the obvious question. What could have possibly drawn them to the airship, and with what level of resolve? Erasmus said, "I'm not sure." Yet, to himself he thought, "But I'm afraid I may have set poor Dr. Pogue up for a surprise."
Yikes!
That's the end of Look Down. Pretty exciting chapter.
Pretty exciting.
So, thanks for watching, kids. And
we hope you're enjoying Corona Storytime with Drake and McTrowell.
And stay tuned for the next one.
All right.
This is Drake.
This is McTrowell.